All right, welcome everyone. Last night I spent quite a bit of time. I wouldn't exactly say I was wasting time, only because I also had my Gemara open and I was studying. But I listened through, and since I used the Tucker Carlson app instead of the YouTube app, which YouTube I could probably run it at double speed or something like that. Where's my card? Instead, I use the Tucker app on what's that called? Roku. I think he probably gets less money for that, or I don't think gets any. I don't know how that works exactly if you have your own Roku app. But in any event, I watched his hour and a half long interview with Tyler Oliveira shortly after apparently he tried to it's not allowed. They're equal opportunity billionaire. So, but I believe the interview was recorded before that, and I apologize for pumping gas while I just started the live stream when I noticed gas was only $49, where other places was $50. So even though running late a little bit, it is worth stopping to fill up. So in any event, I watched the interview. Now, I've made other videos about Tyler and Tucker separately, but here these two came together. I actually emailed Tucker to see if he would like to interview me, being a rabbi who lost a position due to my anti-Zionist views, even though it's not exactly what happened. But that's how, more or less, pretty much that was the excuse that they gave. Of course, is going back 15 years ago. Recently lost a position similarly, but with no excuse and no reason given at all. I don't believe that was even the reason, but I could say it was. So in any event, Shalom, how you doing? Thank you, Alphonse Nelson, for watching and for your comments. So, I watched that interview last night between these two fine gentlemen, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my insights into the video. I for a while gave both Tucker and Tyler somewhat the benefit of the doubt. View them as, first of all, I've said many times before, I don't like this term anti-Semitism. They actually comment on that, or Tyler brought that up. Why is there a separate term for racism against Jews than against any other group? And I really, that's not my issue as much, although it really, in a certain sense, is I don't like the fact that the term anti-Semitism essentially racializes the Jewish identity. And so I've been on record many times saying that I oppose both anti-Semitism and Semitism, meaning the idea, hello, Sarah, Shalom, thank you for watching. If you comment, you get a shout out. I hope you don't mind that I gave you a shout out. Turning here and back on the road again. On the highway going my way. So, I really don't like this idea of racializing the Jewish identity because it's exclusive against converts and also it's inclusive of heretics. And I've been on record saying that as well. That basically, my rabbi is Maimonides, who says that someone who publicly desecrates the Sabbath loses his status as a Jew. Doesn't mean he really actually becomes a Gentile. In Judaism, there's nothing wrong being a Gentile. But there is something if you're not a Gentile, if you're a non-Gentile, if you're a heretic or an apostate or atheist or something like that. That's basically how Judaism looks at it. And we do care about at least what you believe. as far as, oh, here's our old friend Wesley again with his funny ramblings. We appreciate any type of watching, though it seems like you're the only one watching right now, Wesley. Thank you for watching. So, as far as all that goes, so I was saying, if you're, and again, like a lot of people, they'll frame it as you're Jewish or not Jewish, but really it's more along the lines, really within Jewish law, whether you're Gentile or non-Gentile. A Gentile can become a non-Gentile and can live in Judaism and be a Jew. The Jew can never become a Gentile. He is always going to be a non-Gentile. And all that matters is the obligations that one has. And that's, again, it goes back to Exodus 19, 5 and 6. You're a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And in the sense of priesthood of the Israelite nation, the Israelite communities, there were always communities in the plural, 12 tribes. Never was it really one totally united community, although we say the only time really was at Sinai, that they encamped there, but in the singular, he camped there, Israel camped there, like one man with one heart is how our sages express that. But in any event, all that aside, so the essential idea that we have here, oh, maybe I should send that. All right, we got back to, because I need to send an email for work. I'm not going to make it back there in time, am I? So, when it comes to the whole story there with Tyler and Yenner and Buzai Heister Tucker. So I gave both of them the benefit of the doubt. I actually was Tyler of being agent. That's real, and even the fact that he was kicked out of Israel, I think that was still a stunt also. That those Mossad people. So I think Tyler's on the take for the 7K, right? So back to Lawn and Order. That's a cute name for a landscaping company. Guy had his shirt on, was cutting grass. Lawn and Order reminds me of the hill. Zecher Tzadik Levracha. Ain't it cool? Were we talking? And Tucker, right? So these characters. So I agree that this term anti-Semitic is a bad term, but not for the same reason. Not like Tyler is just like, why do they get their own word? My reason is because it racializes my religion. Just my religion. Well, the Jews and curious, most patriotic Jews in America, they have no dual loyalty to Israel. Their loyalty first and foremost to God, but they are pure 100% Americans with the in the whole town of Visa Heistus, yes, palm tree. And down there was no. So you would think Tucker would like them, and he says he does, right? Ha ha ha. I can't do the laugh like Ami. Ami's good at imitations. So, what were we saying? Ay, 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 ay. Tucker and Tyler. So, I think the main thing people were upset about, and I don't think it was right that they took away Tyler's, what do you call it, his Patreon and stuff like that. It's not, and I don't know who's responsible for that. I don't know what the story is with that. I have nothing to do with that, and I think it makes us look bad when stuff like that happens, which I think might be also the whole plan, because like the whole Israeli plan is to increase. I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is not a just a joke or this or that. By Vizai Heistus, what do you call it? The Journal of Theodor Herzl, he writes that best friends of the Zionism in place of what they call anti-Semitism. Meaning it's anti-Semitism that pushes Jews into Zionism in the Zionist ideology, and so their whole thing with the paying off the Klans and the Nazis and this and that, racism alive, so they have something to fight. I mean, I made a joke about that with the spiders on my comedy show. That's really essentially that's it. That's the whole thing. That's where we're holding, So that's what Zionism does with anti-Semitism. So, and they especially, I mean, I 100% believe, just like the Israelis bombed the synagogue in Iran, if they could get away with it, they would bomb our places, the Israelis. They would bomb Kiryas Joel, they would bomb Williamsburg. They hate us. If they, they went into Satmar Bismedrish, used to go beat up people, broke glass, literally made a pogrom. Same thing, told the Satmar Bismedrish in the 80s, in the middle of Shalosh Shudas, they came, they had to get the Rebbe Zichron Livrocha out there. These Zionists hate Jews. That's the whole ideology of Zionism. And I'm not talking about religious Zionists. Those are my brothers and sisters in faith. They might be wrong, but if they're Shomerei Shabbos, a lot of them are Shtickle Talmidei Chachamim. Those are my brothers and sisters in faith. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the atheists. I'm talking about the commies. And to a certain extent, Netanyahu is a little bit more traditional, but it's not. These are not Achenu B'nai Yisrael. The people, in a certain sense, Bennett, even though he's liberal, is more Yiddish than, even though he's not that frum, but he done a couple. I think he does 3 times a day. I think he's a Shomer Shabbos. So Naftali Bennett is more my brother than Netanyahu, because Netanyahu doesn't keep Shabbos. He doesn't put tefillin every day. He puts on for his show once in a while. Kind of like the congressman and I'm a Republican. I'm a big Republican, but that congressman in Florida who wears a yarmulke and just uses a political prop, that doesn't impress me so much, So, but nonetheless, what's the issue here with what Tyler was saying? And he wasn't saying it in so many words, but the difference between the Somali issue in the Twin Cities and the Hasidic communities is manifold. One is the Jewish community's been here in America since the founding. We're part of the fabric of this country. Lakewood Yeshiva has been there since the 40s. Kiryas Joel has been there since the 70s. These aren't newcomers. These are communities that have been there for a long time. That's Aleph, as we say. That's A. And I'm almost to work and I don't have time to sit around and schmooze anymore. B, the biggest thing is the Somalis are committing fraud. and the Jews are not committing fraud. And so then and this was maybe the most problematic part. What they said was, they were like, look, the and this is more not anti-Semitic, it's really anti-Judaism, really, in that sense. And so they said, even if you're following the law, isn't there some shame in being on welfare? Now, I am not currently on welfare. I was in the past, and I did feel shame, and I tried to get off of it, and I got out of it. I got out of the welfare system. I didn't look at that as a lifestyle, and I don't think people in the Hasidic community see it as a lifestyle. It's something that's there, that's legal, as long as you're following the rules. And especially, we are also taxpayers, including the people receiving welfare. If they're learning in kollel, they get a kollel check. Taxes come out of the kollel check. If they're paying rent, that rent still goes to the landlord's taxes. And that also includes, now Kiryas Joel is a little bit different, but outside of Kiryas Joel, Kiryas Joel also goes to school taxes, but outside of Kiryas Joel, there's also the school taxes. Public schools, one kid in the public school costs the taxpayer more than a whole family of 10 on food stamps and Medicaid. That's the reality. And that's really, really what it comes down to, I think. It's no different if you're on food stamps or if you send your kids to public school. It's costing the taxpayers, and actually the fact that these communities do not send their kids to public school, including in Kiryas Joel, where they have their own school district, and there's only like 200 kids in the public school, and everybody else pays tuition and so forth. It evens out as far as what the tax base would be. It's a net savings to the taxpayer for these families that are legally on welfare. And the term welfare, it's a loaded term on food stamps, Medicaid. And also, the point of food stamps, really more than anything, is to help the food companies, because a lot of food is going to waste and so forth. So that's the story. All right, I'm at work. I don't have time to talk. Tyler, if you want to be on my channel, let's do an interview together, whatever. All right, God bless. We'll see you.